Good, good afternoon, everyone. Brian here at thebasscast.com, and the boys are back. It's Wednesday night. It's time to hit the record button. As you guys all know, we got Hank the Bass Geek and Thomas with Fishing the DMV. As you guys can tell, we're doing something a little different here on Basscast Radio. On top of going to a Monday morning drop, so I really appreciate all you guys checking that out. And hopefully, it'll help us as a show. And on top of that, we moved to StreamYard. So I don't know what the plan is with the boys. The guys are going to tell me what I should do. So that's where we're heading on this one because I would like to do some lives. I ain't gonna lie, guys. I mean, it would be pretty cool for us to do some lives and stuff.
It
But
would be fun.
we're all very busy people, and Thomas does 12 shows a week. So I mean, we're blessed just to have him on Wednesday nights.
I thought it was 18. 18 shows a week.
We say that, but I actually I recorded an episode before this, and I have one after tonight too. Because a little thing, I'm trying to hit 400 episodes in the 3 years we've been doing this. That's kind of my deal.
Upped it to 24 episodes a week.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm going to fish next year.
Thomas would go into that. I said the same thing when Danielle wasn't feeling great and she was sick, and we were working on the meds and everything. And I said, I'll fish next year. I'm not going to do anything this year. And here we are, third year from it. She's well, by the way, but third year into it, and I'm still like just cranking. I mean, every single night. I mean,
it's a balance thing because people I guess the thing, like when I've talked to I hang out with SB Fishing a lot and people like that, and it's like, well, you have to get out there to fish to make more content. So it's a nice little cycle there. Mm-hmm. This is the antithesis of it, which sucks for me. It's me fishing doesn't bear as much fruit for content. For you Patreon supporters that are listening right now, you know that I do recaps after the kayak season. I am fishing a full kayak series right now. Next year, I'm going to fish a boating one. The part is it's just a little bit cheaper to do that compared to the BFLs, but hopefully next year we'll be getting back into the BFLs.
Yeah, I mean, kayak, like $30 to $50 at the most.
I don't have to fill up the boat.
Yeah, that's true as well. Save gas. Charge up the back.
You got a 4-stroke or 2-stroke?
I got a 2-stroke, 225 Mercury.
Gas and oil.
Yeah, she eats.
And oil's only $30 a gallon. I mean,
yeah,
depending on what you get.
And it's a cycle. I know we're gonna get to the show, but it is a cycle because you will have to practice, especially if you're gonna fish a Cur, a Smith, where you have to do some idling. Yes. Idling, you're just watching the dollar signs go up versus the Potomac, where you just lock down in a pocket and you're good for 8 hours.
Dang. All right, guys, welcome to tonight's show. First of all, I hope you guys all had a chance to listen to last week's show with Slick Johnson. Guys, it was a pretty interesting show. Let's just say that much. A lot of you guys have listened and watched. Very interesting. You know what? Here's what I want to tell you guys. And I want to tell you this right now. I hear bitching, I hear moaning, and I hear complaining. But when I go to his TikTok page and all you guys are following, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry, but I mean, he's got a crap load of followers. You all want to hear, but you want to complain about it afterwards. It's just like the payout at a tournament. I mean, it is what it is. But so also this week I got a new show from Calvin. He's doing another one where he is doing a talk, but week 4 last, Calvin had Robert G on. So before the first cast drops Friday mornings. So I will have that one edited. Holy cow. I'll have to edit it tomorrow and have it ready for Friday. So it's a busy week around here, guys. But tonight we thought we would talk about, and we'll probably spin off like we always freaking do. As you guys know, last week we had 2 returning anglers back to the Bassmaster Elite Series, Mr. Randy Howell and Cliff Pace. And I posted, a little poll on the basscast.com, and a lot of you guys said, the question was, should they requalify? And I know, we have the what do they call it, daggone thing, where the extension, where the where they fished. Both of them won a classic, so that's how they both got back in.
They get an honors exemption basically for
Yeah.
winning, or I think it's a legends exemption.
Legends, there it is.
Yeah. My question on that is though, does that take up a spot, or is that 2 spots added?
So the spot that they actually
That's a good
took,
question.
the first spot they took was Rick Clunn's.
Okay.
So the Rick Clunn was, since he retired. But by Bassmaster's rules, you're allowed to add 2 a season, a year,
Okay.
back to the Elite Series. And I guess my whole thing about it, me personally, and I'm gonna read what the Legends thing says here in a second. Okay, I'll go read this first before I go into it. Anglers earn 1 Legends point for each Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic victory and 1 point for each Progressive Insurance Angler of the Year title. According to Elite Series rules, up to 2 Legends qualifiers can be added to the Elite field per season. Although other former Elite Series pros inquired about the Legends exemption, Howell and Pace received their Legends exemptions based upon having 1 Legend point fishing the Bassmaster Opens and having the most career bass events fish. No spots are being cut from the 2025 Elite Field to make room for the Legend qualifiers.
Okay. I think that's the biggest thing. And so by that, I'm guessing as long as they're in, they do have to continually qualify. Like it's not a forever hall pass, right?
No, no. No,
I guess-
it's definitely not a hall pass.
Yeah.
I
I
guess
got no problem with that, I guess, as long as you're not knocking out 2 of the anglers that did qualify.
Right.
So I do. So let's just say for the next 10 years, in theory, you have a brand new Angler of the Year and then Classic Champion. In theory, does that mean there's 20 more people that get exempted? So if that is the case, again, this is kind of like the whole debate we had with the sonar thingy. Are they ever going to put a cap on this? Because it's going to get kind of ridiculous where half the field is exempt because they won. Because at that point, are you a professional? And again, I know it kind of gets back to I think that whole conversation of what makes you a professional.
Right,
Is it
right.
you get a guaranteed job indefinitely? If you win a Super Bowl, does that mean you get to be a quarterback the rest of your life?
Yes.
And I just, yeah, I think that's fascinating because this is the only sport where I think, I could be wrong, let me know, besides golf and fishing, what other sport just says, oh, you won a championship, you can stay a pro as long as you want, as long as you qualify to an extent.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's my question. Like, okay, here's your exemption. You're using it. Now, from here on out, you got to qualify.
Yeah.
And I think there shouldn't be. You should have to qualify the same way everybody else does. And what is it? A 3 year process?
Yeah,
So-
it's how you fall in points at the end of the year. The bottom part of the points fall off, and new anglers come on.
Because it's
They do. They kind of do the same thing in Major League Fishing does on that.
That's what I was thinking, but it's like a 2-year average, right?
Yeah. They just don't kick you out the first year because Matty Wong, his first year was rough. But I mean, because they all know, the rookies and people coming into it, it's an adjustment,
Definitely.
and that's why the opens were set up the way they were last year because they were hoping to help with that adjustment where any EQ qualifier would have to fish them all. So they'd have to travel, and they've changed it back now. But yeah, so that was the whole thing about the EQ qualification, so that newer anglers coming in would be like, okay, I'm used to fishing, traveling, being able to prep, find fish, etc., etc. But yeah, you're right. So the 2 anglers dropped out, and these 2 came back in, but. For me, I guess it's just for me. I mean, I like Randy Howell. Don't get me wrong. I don't really know Cliff Pace that well, but it's kind of like one of them things that you left. You signed a contract. You said the grass was greener on the other side. They told you all these things they told you, and they hung the carrot in front of you, and you ran. And I think if you did that, then you should have to requalify. That's me. I can see if you, let's say you took a year off because of medical, and but you had won like one or two classics, and there was a window to open to come back in. I can kind of see in the rule change to that, but not just like, oh, I don't like it there no more. Can I come back home?
And you wonder if this really has to do with conversations again we had in the past about if you are an established pro with a sponsorship portfolio and you have the following, are the sponsors also the ones putting pressure on this? Because if you're a sponsor, would you, in theory, drop Randy Howe to just go bet on someone brand new, or would you be like, hey, Bass, listen, this is how we need to do the rules here because we have the established relationship with this guy. It's smooth.
Right.
Let's just keep this going. And again, if that's the case, how do we call this a real sport? Yeah. I know it's scary because we don't want to say that, but I think this is the conversations we need to have because it's getting kind of ridiculous, especially with the economy going the way it's going, all the stuff that's happening in the world, and then the dollar is just getting stretched further and further, and there's less money to go around for sponsorships. But if you have the 1% that basically can hold on to power and be like, hey, as long as I can breathe and stand and fish, I got a job indefinitely. What are we doing here?
I agree. I mean, I agree 100% on that. And that's kind of why I threw the poll out there. I want to, first of all, thank everyone for voting. A lot of people's comments. I mean, a lot of people, said it, hey, these are two guys that, I mean, I know they're 50 plus, and they said just, they should just drop out and leave it to the kids.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I get the exemption to a certain extent. Now the question is what's going to happen if, let's say, like you were saying, Thomas, if there was, let's say MLF shut it down tomorrow, how many more exemptions are there, and how many can they fit? How big will the field be?
I mean, you know what they're going to do. I can picture it now. It's like to help all the anglers out, we have decided to expand the field. Also, we have all these exemptions coming back. Isn't this crazy? I agree, Brian, with what you said, though. You left, you went to another job. And I think this is the other side of the coin here. How many of them are even good enough to requalify? Could Pace or Hal do it?
I don't know, because Hal hasn't done extremely well over the last couple of years with Major League Fishing. I think he's won like one event, I think, since he moved. I ain't gonna lie, guys, I didn't look it up. That's my fault. But you're right. Do you think they could actually requalify through the Opens and make it back into the Elite Series, especially with the talent that there is out there now?
That's a good question. I don't know. You'd have to be hungry. You'd have to want it. There's a lot that still haven't. There's a lot that have tried and failed.
So then the next question is, we got Laker Hal, and he's a stick. I mean, the dude is a freaking stick, but what's his decision? He'll follow daddy? I mean, there's that couple different fathers' sons on the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Series.
Well, he doesn't get an exemption
right now left.
Yeah, he doesn't get an exemption, so he'd have to requalify.
Got to requalify. So, but I mean, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I mean, for that, I don't know, man. I don't know why I would say, well, I'd give these guys an exemption, but I'm just okay with it. I don't know. That's all I know. I mean, I know it could cause a problem if there's a rush on it, but
I just think it's interesting. Like, will this be a problem? And I think it will, because in theory, you exempt all AOY and Classic champions. Therefore, eventually this will become an issue where if you keep allowing them to stay indefinitely, is the field just going to be all Classic winners?
But now you don't let them stay indefinitely.
No. You still if they suck like the next 2 years, they go home.
They're out.
Right. So do you think it was just Rick Clunn that got that exception?
Ooh. Gosh,
my
this
point?
is good, boys and
Did
girls.
he not? Did he not requalify, bro?
No, he got
Yeah,
exempted 100%.
he's been like on that borderline just in points like the last couple of years.
The numbers have been so fibbed. I mean, because there were events where he threw fish back because it wasn't a good enough bag because he didn't care about points.
Yeah.
You know, I know 100. I bet the house either they fudged the numbers or they did something or they just didn't care because he got a free ride. Perfectly fine. I'm not saying that just for him, but how many other people have that? Again, it gets into this weird conspiracy tinfoil hat about why there's this weird the older generation versus the younger generation in the scope and all this other stuff. And it comes back to just job security and they don't want to get kicked off the horse. And one part of it is you make sure that through different dealings of you're an AOY winner, you've done this 3 times on a blue moon, or you're just good enough to stay. Well, that stuff only works if they're competitive. If they suck,
Yeah.
It's optically poor, like you
Yes.
know, and that's the other thing of it there too. So I don't know. It's just in hearing about all the backdoor dealing and stuff, it just makes me question this even more now than it did prior.
You wonder if you know what Bass was thinking. You know, he's one of the oldest anglers that stuck it out. So I mean, is it like, hey, we'll just like continue to let you fish, break your record, retire, break a record, retire, and walk away because you were dedicated to bass?
And if they came out again, because they're run by monkeys over there, and just said like, we're just doing this for Clun because he is just, you know, the elder statesman, he is the face of this, blah blah blah, perfectly fine. And you can make an argument maybe for a Kevin Van Dam too in that same breath, if you wanted to. But a lot of these other guys, I'm like, okay, Randy Howe, has he ever been like, has he really changed as much?
He won one. Yeah, he won a Bassmaster Classic, and I was at that Bassmaster Classic when he won it off that Livingston Lures crankbait. He told everybody, but I can't guarantee or deny. So,
but does he move the needle honestly, or is it just
no? He does not.
backing?
No, he does not move the needle at all.
Not anymore. Maybe back at his peak, but
Yeah.
not anymore.
And-
I'd say
and
his son moves the needle more than he does now.
And then again, it would be, why not open up 2 more spots for somebody else in the opens? Why them? And that's where I keep going in my brain. Why them? And it's not performance right now. It's their past. So then it has to be because of something with the sponsors.
Yeah, you know, like you said though, I mean, they're like you were saying earlier, they're well-established anglers, long-term sponsors that have been with them for decades. And, you know, you kind of wonder if that's one of the reasons, another reason why they let them back in. I mean, we all know the sport's hurting. We heard it last week on last week's show with Slick. And I talked to Slick before I came on tonight, and he said more sponsors are leaving. So, I mean, you wonder, where do we have another year left? I mean, I don't see it going anywhere, guys, by the way. I'm not saying that at all. But we talked about it so much a little bit last week, and actually I posted a clip about it today on Facebook about diversifying yourself in bass fishing. And, you know, I can already tell you, next year, if you're not diversified, it will probably be your last year.
You really shouldn't be, and this is going to be terrible to say, you shouldn't just try to pursue this as a career, because it is basically gambling. Until otherwise stated, you are a blackjack player and you're playing against a casino. The pros that you're seeing, they're just the faces that Charlestown Races and Slots throws up to try to incentivize you to chase the dream. Unless you have the backing of a company, a boat manufacturer you own, a landscaping thing, a YouTube channel, because the amount of money you have to spend before you can get there. And that's why the old cliche is that you have to be a billionaire to become a millionaire in fishing. It's there for a reason. And you're looking more and more at these people, because like all YouTube is in general, it's the new TV show. It's the new Bill Dance and Hank Parker. And so these people with Geeks following, or Milliken or Scott Martin or Wheeler, these are small TV stations. These are small branded TV programs. And so the people that are doing the best are the ones that have their own network, and they get to go do this for content. That's what it is. And with that stated, even if you are the best angler in the world, I'm sorry, it's still $60,000, $80,000 that you're going in debt first, and then you get to spin that wheel and throw the dice and hope
Yeah.
for what? To get a bill for the classic and maybe a boat deal? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what they prey on, is that gambling mentality right now. I think the MPFL and people like that, I think that's better suited right now because it's the working man. And I
Yeah.
think they could potentially be attractive even more now going forward, especially if the economy gets worse, especially if things get worse, because you'd be like, hey, 4 tournaments, 5 tournaments, 6, whatever, spaced out, you can keep your job, have a shot at this to win some big money.
Oh yeah.
That's way better than the Opens.
Well, the NPFL, like you just brought up, they went back and learned from the Bassmaster elites and back in the 70s when it first started. I mean, if you watched which I did, I loved them. But if you watch the videos that Bassmaster put out with a lot of Hank Parker and all of them that they put out on the Fox Sports, they were talking about it. Hey, I left my job, went fish for a week, and came back home.
Yep.
And they all had jobs for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, or they, like you said, or they owned their own personal business. They were an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to, and this is because I know I'm gonna get killed in this comment. I'm not trying to just be gloom and doom, but I'm also just trying to be like a realist here with so many people out there that are willing to go bet the farm for a year on the Opens, and I just took my shot. And is that the Disney movie that you think it is, or is it irresponsible gambling with your future? Which one is it?
Now they've changed it back, or well, sort of back. So what is it now? 4 qualifiers,
Yeah.
and then you fish. If you qualify, you fish 2 more or something like that.
So you're
How
talking
is
about
it
the
that it
Opens?
goes? Yeah, the Opens.
Okay, so I brought the Opens up, guys. Beginning 2025 season, the Opens will evolve into an 8-event season comprised of 2 divisions. Anglers placing the top 50 in each division, Angler of the Year race will advance to the newly installed Bassmaster Elite Qualifier Series. This standalone series will feature 3 events spanning from September through November to qualify anglers for the Bassmaster Elite Series. So you are still spending about the same amount of money.
Yeah.
The house always wins, baby.
Yep. Always wins.
And again, like I do think we also, just to bring precedent about the natural disaster that also occurred here that really ripped through a part of Appalachia, the Carolinas, that will probably have ramifications next year, not just for financial, but also for a lot of the lakes and stuff. How will that impact it? So it's, I don't know, guys. Like, it'll be interesting to see. I do think regional superpowers like the Cat Trail, Brian, what you put on, I think this is a golden opportunity to see regional fishing really pop off again. Because if you can make as much money staying in your region versus traveling, why would you leave?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And there's there's a lot of anglers that do that. I mean,
Yeah.
Go
Well, that's
ahead,
why
Nate.
the Toyotas are so popular.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, you can go fish all of them, but it's still a regional to a championship sort of setup.
And honestly, that's the thing that's always been surprising to me is why there's never been. I think for 1 year, maybe someone can help me out. They had a Mid-Atlantic Toyota Costa type series, and then it went away to where you have to go down to basically as far south as possible or to Canada to do a Toyota
Yeah.
series. And it's weird that you have this from like the Potomac River to northern Tennessee to North Carolina area that you could have a Toyota series
Oh,
just
yeah.
in that area.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's
But-
always kind of blown my mind because it's like you've got the Southern Trail and it's almost like Florida, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the Northern Trail, which is like what, New York,
Yeah.
maybe somewhere
Potomac.
else up there. Yeah, Potomac. So,
But also the Toyota series are kind of set up like the EQs because it is a step up.
it is.
Going to the Bass Pro series, and I mean it's getting you. I mean I know what is it? Well, it's before the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals, but I mean it's trying to get you up. They're the BFLs That's for the weekend angler who just wants to fish about 3 or 4 tournaments and then have a little championship.
Yeah.
And hopefully have a good payout. So I mean, it's the stepping stones that you want to go through to get to that dream of becoming an elite angler in whichever field that you want to go.
Well, Toyota Series is definitely the better payout of
Yes,
that group. The BFL's payouts. I love their commercial where the best payouts in America on Earth.
30 years ago.
They're freaking worst, man.
They're terrible. I mean, that's a whole other argument where it's like, oh, it's because of forward-facing sonar and the weather is why people aren't signing up. It's like, no, it's because you're asking us to win $200 to basically go guide somebody for a day.
Yeah.
Like it comes down to the money. It is. I mean, look at how many people like sign up for that $10,000 event that was on the James River. And that was even tough because, again, finances where we are now. If you're going to incentivize, by the way, we're going to pay you $1.50 and you have to take your forward facing sonar off now. Like, oh, you're really sweetening the pot for me to come out to this thing.
So we can talk about that real quick. Five Alive just had their last weekend, had their first non-forward facing sonar event. And from what I was told today, the same anglers that usually win with forward facing sonar won without.
I am stunned.
Let me put my surprise face on.
Yeah, really.
So, I mean,
I'm blown away by that stat.
Don't be blown away. So, I mean, I really, they maybe picked up a few different anglers, but it wasn't enough to justify having something totally different. Like a different series, I guess.
Colored me shocked. I mean, we all knew this was going to happen. Again, it's just children involved reading social media, which is never a good thing. I don't know. It is fascinating to me, the overreaction, and to see where this plays out next year. I mean, we've talked about this and beat this horse to death, but yeah, I mean, that's going to be interesting to see. I think, again, for me, if we were going to do our predictions for next year, it's to see how the MPFL does, how Bass and honestly everyone as a whole does with the economy and everything going into this next year. And then also how much more does kayaking, has kayaking plateaued, or are they still taking chunks out of the market? Because I feel like they're still upticking. They're not downticking at all. And I know a lot of people talking at ICAST are like, well, it's kind of starting to plateau, potentially, maybe. I don't think it is. I think it's just gearing up, believe it or not. And if that's the case, Bass and all them are going to be in trouble.
So that event was on Mayo Lake, guys, by the way. It took 13.14 pounds to win. They had 30 boats. That's all they had to fish it. I mean, I don't see where that was enough. By the way, congratulations to Donnie Wyatt and Matt Tuttle. Tuttley? Congratulations to them on the win. But I don't see enough there. There wasn't enough participation for someone else to add another whole tournament series.
So they also run a tournament series with forward facing sonar.
Yeah, they run a couple different ones. They run a fall series. They do an amazing job, and Kevin Shepard is the tournament director for the Five Alive series, Five Alive Championship. I was there a few weeks ago.
What's their normal turnout?
Probably a little bit more than that. Probably about 30 to 50 boats. I mean,
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting.
That's the second, because we got the next one coming up in November, which is a non-forward facing sonar event. If I remember correctly, it's November. But that's the second event where it really hasn't panned out.
Where it's real hard, okay, when and this is what I tell people. It's like, hey, let me show you the secret to the universe. Once you know it, and they're back here behind you, it's real damn hard to forget it for an angler, at least for me. Like sometimes I'm like, man, I wish this water would muddy up, or luckily sometimes I get it to muddy up, and I'm like, I'm gonna go flip around, or you know what, if the water's cooling down, I'm gonna go throw, and then I swing that live scope around there, and I see that school of 250 bass out there, and you go, well, there they are. So I mean, when you know, the cat's out of the bag. It's just, do you want to go back to just fishing? You know?
Yeah, and it'll be interesting again, like just to see how this plays out. And I think in time, the whole hype will die down about it. Rules will get readjusted, and things will go kind of back
Yeah.
to normal. I really think that's going to be. It'll be interesting though, with like all the changing with the tournaments and stuff, especially right now with the flooding again. Like I think they moved one of the regionals to Watts Bar, which was interesting.
Yeah, they've
Yeah,
changed. I've seen
yeah, that was yesterday.
several tournaments. I think I seen a big bass tournament that was moved or canceled off Douglas too.
Mm-hmm.
And they're stacking a high school tournament, a college tournament, an international tournament, a Bass Open, all on the same lake. I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
it's yeah. And again, how much of that just comes down to logistics is probably all of it is logistics. Like it's just easier for them to do that.
Yeah, because
Well,
that's that tournament, the Open. That's the final Open, and that was supposed to have been. It's next weekend, and I was going to be down in South Carolina on Hartwell, if I remember correctly. So I mean, I had planned on going, but I'm not going to Alabama. Once is enough.
And there's a lot of stuff running down that way. I'd already heard that even Santee was being lowered just a little bit, expecting a lot of runoff from up this way.
It's crazy times. It really is. How long do you think it would take for the fishing to get back to normal?
I mean, for the lakes around me, like now, I haven't seen a whole lot about Cherokee. I haven't seen anything really about South Holston. Douglas, there's a lot of stuff in Douglas. And I think that's just going to be the biggest part of it. Like Watauga, I think they broke their flood level, and it's like right on the border with, Irwin. It's right above Irwin, which was basically decimated.
Yeah.
So, and then all that runs really right down into Douglas. So, I mean, they'll clean up, but I don't know how long that'll take. I mean, there's just so much stuff. I don't know if they've shut it off, for public use or whatever. I know the lake up this way, Clater, they've shut it off. You can't be out there in a boat.
How long? I don't know this, but how long does it take to actually clean up all the dead wood that floats in a lake? Does someone do that?
Well, I'll tell you this right now, guys.
Yeah, they actually do have people.
Leesville Lake is known as Sleesville Lake around here because it's on a regular basis, and this is no lie. You just drive around trees.
Yeah.
And it's all. So what they do is they have a barge. They take the barge out there, pick up all the sticks.
Yep.
Then you bring them all back and run them through a shredder. Or I know like Leesville does at the public dam, they'll stack them all up like blocks.
Yep.
And I don't know if a truck comes back later and picks them all up or what they end up doing. And they just run this barge up and down the lake, picking these things up when it gets too bad. And I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know much about the lake, but I don't know if they have a barge or not. But I have been told the super tournament that's going out of Bugs Island, and it'll be over with by now, but the water's extremely high, and you're fishing the bushes.
You're fishing somebody's front porch.
You're fishing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of debris in that lake as well. I mean, one angler I spoke to said, he can't go but so far because he would have to slow down so much to dodge the trees on the upper end of the lake that he just said, heck, he's going to stay down next to Okanichi.
I can't believe they're doing that. Like, that is dumb. Like, move the damn tournament. Go to Gaston. I know you hate that lake with a passion, but why? Who signed a check to where they indefinitely will go to cur, even if there's one bass in that lake. Every super
One
tournament will be held at
largemouth
BFO.
bass, by the way, just one.
Pretty much, like it just floors me to death that like gets the amount of attention it does, and now it's like I think a health risk.
I think I can't speak for Major League Fishing guys, but I know a lot of people that already started coming down, started pre-practicing. So I don't think they jumped on it fast enough. But the rumor was, and when I was fishing, when I was covering the Liberty University event this past weekend with their final LU event, just throw us in there real quick, guys. They raised over $3,000 for the kids.
Right on.
Nice.
So that was pretty awesome. Congratulations on all the winners. They had 10 events. And the Basscast donated an extra $200 to the winners this past weekend because we really wanted to help them and help the guys from Liberty University. So $3,000 might not seem like a whole lot, but it'll help go a long way and buy some gas. And I think, what is it? They're coming to Bugs this year. The back to Bugs. The college kids will be at Bugs. The Opens won't be, but the college kids will be there. They're going to have fun catching spotted bass and 2-pounders.
Because I don't know, like Gaston's been popping off a lot more in recent years. I just want reward lakes when the lakes are good, or when the DWR actually rewards. Like again, I don't know what everyone thinks about the BPT going to Smith, but a ton of money's been pumped into Smith the last 5 to 6 years to make that thing drop 30 pounds. And so it's a respect thing to be like, hey, listen, we want to give this national attention for the work. When you do the Sabine thing where it's like, it's going to take 4 pounds to win over 6 days, but we will keep going there. Why would you want to make the fishery better? Like, they're going to be coming to you. So what is, I don't know, that just frustrates the heck out of me with Kerr. And I know there's a lot of people that like Kerr, but that place needs a lot of love to get it back, because it is just depressing how that place has been the last 10 years.
Yeah. So you going back 10 years, because that's when the largemouth virus came through and it killed a lot of fish. And then somehow, we don't know, got spotted bass in there. And they've pretty much taken over. So, I mean, what was it? So, we were talking about a little while ago, the 5 Alive Championship. 18-pound bag was brought in. I mean, that's a sack on that lake right now. I mean, so this weekend, I think I wouldn't doubt if it takes maybe 36 to 40 pounds for all 3 days.
It's depressing. It really is. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. And there's so many cool little places. And this is, again, why I do like the BPT concept of smaller fields to explore different places.
Yes.
You got oh God, I just lost the name. Oh, you got Stonewall Jackson up in West Virginia. It's about 4,000 acres. Really cool lake. They went there for a show. You have the lake down near you guys as well, which we can't talk about, but that lake right there. We got Huddleston. We got a bunch of different lakes that you could go to that are really cool little fisheries, but they're not 30,000 acres. And I've always been shocked that if you dropped an alien here, they think there's only 8 lakes in the United States because that's the only places they go to. When there's a ton of fish factories, I forgot how good Dale Hollow was until they went there and you could see it again. It's like, oh yeah, they have big smallmouth there.
Oh, they got big largemouth there too.
Yeah.
You can't. So in regular tournaments, you cannot fish for smallmouth because of the weird creel limit that they have going on. And it's like 1 under 14 and 1 above 22. So you fish for largemouth there, and it is regularly over 20 plus pound bags to win on that lake. So
that's insane.
That's the same slot limit for Monacan, James River down here where I live. And we've been trying to get rid of that thing for years. I mean, it's catch and really. I mean, it's catch, store, release. But we've been trying to because we've seen some nice looking bass come out of the James River down here.
What I heard was on Dale Hollow that a lot of the smallmouth guides wanted that slot limit in there. But I don't know. I go back to. Bass anglers, I go back to the study the video that Thomas, most bass anglers catch and release.
Mm-hmm.
So does it really matter to have that kind of slot limit to try and grow super large smallmouth there? I mean,
I would love to know the data on that.
yeah,
I love how you said the guides because like the Susquehanna River, this episode becoming out long story short, but I didn't know. I married into my wife's family, and Butch Ward, who's a legendary Susquehanna angler, and he did a charity event on the Susquehanna River for years until allegedly this Susquehanna guides banned weigh-in tournaments, live well tournaments, because for guiding. And so he had to move his charity event to the Upper Potomac. So I really feel like the zeitgeist of the Susquehanna is like Dale Hollow, because you don't have tournaments, you don't know about it. And then kayak fishing honestly put the Susky back on the map. Like, wait, that place has big smallmouth? It's like, yeah. It does. And again, like that's fascinating to me when you look at a Philpott or a Leesville. Like, I mean, I've heard rumor legends that Leesville's got big fish in it, but everyone doesn't go there because the rumor is it's a terrible place. Why go there? So it doesn't get pressured. So I don't know. There are so many lakes, and that's kind of what gets me excited is to maybe go out in the next couple of years and just explore some of these littler lakes because there's so many in our area.
Yeah, it's funny you brought Philpott. That was our first kayak tournament back in the day. Was on Philpott Lake, and my dad grew up not too far away from Philpott Lake. So I mean, like you're saying, there are so many different bodies of water, trolling motor only or kayak only, left to explore. And like I said, it's ever changing. But so let's get back to our topic just a tad bit here with the exemptions of the Bassmaster elite anglers coming back from Major League Fishing. And we know a lot of them because the field got, compressed a little bit this year. What is it? 65 anglers this year, I think. They were going to go to like, I can't remember, guys. I think it was like 50 or something. And then they actually bumped it up, and then they decided on a number. But I know a lot of these anglers that were on the bottom is what's coming back or want to come back. So you wonder if we're just getting bottom feeders.
So what do you mean, the guys on the bottom that want to come back?
What's that?
The guys that were out?
Yeah, they got kicked.
Oh, well, we definitely don't want them back in. If they didn't make it, they didn't make it. Bring in the qualifiers.
And that's where, and that's what that was the whole conversation for a lot of the opinions from a lot of different anglers and all. And they're like, they didn't really make it there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't want to say they're washed up by any means, because I mean, we all know Clone fished till he's 900 years old.
Yeah,
he's like Moses. But I mean, you don't want to say that, but at the same time, bring the kids.
Like I said, as long as they're not taking up a spot and we don't have like a tidal wave of them coming in, I don't mind it. I think absolutely they have to qualify. They have to follow the rules of everybody else, and you play that exemption card. I think that exemption card should have a one play limit.
I agree with that.
And you play it. You don't make it. You can't go, well, I got an exemption. No. That ain't how it works. You didn't requalify.
But these are like the smart things that you do in a business that you and I would sit down. It's like, we're going to have the exemption. And then I'd be like, so everyone that wins as an exemption, you're like, oh, well, that might be a problem in the future. You can only use it one time. Okay, that's a good little, let's do that. Cool. They're not going to do that. And the disaster they're creating is in 4 or 5 years when everyone has an exemption. They're like, shit, what do we do? Yep. And then they're going to make so many people mad because they'll come out with some weird gibberish announcement.
Yep.
So one of the comments that I got in the poll ran is like, if you quit your job, most of the time they don't let you come back. And you really did quit. You walked away.
Yeah, you did. I agree, and I understand that.
So either way, welcome back to the elites, Cliff and Randy Howell. But guys, we're going to wrap this up here in a minute, but I thought we'd go around the room and see what the heck everybody's got going on. We usually do it at the beginning of the show, but we just kind of dove right on in tonight. But Thomas, what's happening in your world first, brother?
Oh my goodness! See, when this drops, we had a really great. I had a really good call-in show in person last week. That's going to be debuting on Thursday, October 3rd. Go check that out with Three River Rats. They have 100 years of experience between them on the Susquehanna, Shenandoah, Upper Potomac, New River. Had them all in a building taking phone calls. Coming up here on October 12th, I have a charity tournament, so to speak, for all my Patreon supporters. If you're a Patreon supporter, it's only $20 to enter, and I'm being a little creative with this because up in our area of the woods, we have a lot of river systems. So $100 if you catch the biggest rock bass, $100 if you catch the biggest smallmouth. Just, again, not super big money you have to do, but just to kind of like, hey, to say thank you guys for supporting me. So that's coming up here as well. And then your boys' top 10 in AOY points for the NVKBA Kayak Series are championships at Lake Anna this Saturday. So we'll see if I can figure something out or if I'm just going to throw a 12-inch glide all day and hope for the best. So we'll see. It might be that.
Are we still having the get together?
Yes, we're going to be doing a get together probably after Turkey Day, and it'll be kind of like a prelude to the gauntlet that will be the expo season. I don't know if I made this announcement, but I am actually running the social media for the Richmond Fishing Expo and the Raleigh Fishing Expo this year. I got to talking to Les about that, so I'm going to be running it for the Expo Center as long as doing my own booth, so it's going to be crazy.
Oh, shoot.
Well,
that's pretty awesome.
Yes,
that's some pretty daggone good news right there.
Yeah,
that's
hopefully I didn't bite off more than I could chew, but that's what caffeine is for.
That's a lot.
That's
a lot. You gonna run my social media for me too, since you're gonna throw it in there? You know, I'll do the YouTube thing. You just run all the.
Yeah, sure. Why not? While we're at it.
So, guys, me and Thomas, I think it's the first time I get to meet you, but in person. But the dude, man, how many hours you pump out so many hours with them expos of content?
We average 20 hours.
I mean,
yeah, it's unhealthy. Eventually I will cut it back, but we had, I think,
he's young, everybody.
Yeah. The highlight is we had almost 2,000 people watching the Friday at the Richmond Expo because the snow hit hard on Friday and everyone stayed home. So they logged in and watched, which was pretty cool.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Geek, what's happening in your world, brother?
You know, man, was without power this weekend. Keeping the family, getting the family together, making sure, everybody was fed and happy. My area got hit by Helene, Helen, hell on earth, whatever you want to call it. The hurricane dropped a ton of rain. The people, my community, my people, the people of Appalachia and the mountains, guys, I wished I could give you a place. Go out and find the boots on the ground, the people, send them stuff, make donations. It is bad. People are stuck literally on mountains, literally still, closing in on a week later. They are still without food, without water. Go check them out. Western North Carolina, East Tennessee, Virginia. I've not seen a lot of people talk about, Damascus,
right,
and Narrows that got slammed pretty hard. It's a lot of small communities. It's not getting a lot of play on the news, and there's been a lot of, the government sucks. Okay. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're red or blue. They all suck. They're all the same cut of skin, and they ain't worth the skin they're printed on, in my opinion. So, there's a lot of people doing a lot of good things, including a lot of private helicopters where from what I've been hearing, they're waiting on the red tape and the, orders for the military to be able to do things, and they can't get into these places. Literally, the bridges and everything is so washed out. The roads are completely annihilated that there is no way to get a car. I literally seen people with pack muling water into these places. Wow. If you've never been to the mountains and you've never really climbed a mountain like I have, you don't understand how hard and unforgiving this terrain is, and these people cannot get out. Uh, Go find, and there's all kinds. Go find the people that are really helping, make donations to them, get the stuff there, help these people out. And it's all the community, it's all the Appalachian people that are really there and the boots on the ground. Uh, all of our, Tennessee, Morgan Griffin, you're a loser. You're a sorry piece of Republican crap that should be down in Virginia helping your people. Diana Harshberger for Tennessee, you're garbage. You talk a lot and you're doing nothing. The government should be ashamed of themselves, and I hope everybody votes. I don't care who they are, blue or red. Get them out. They're trash. They don't deserve the dollars we pay for them.
When can we vote for you?
Boom.
No, I'm not getting into politics.
That was a pretty good rant there, Geek.
Sorted, and but I love my people, man, and it really.
Yeah.
Hey, we understand, Geek.
It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. By the time this comes out, guys, like they were saying, make sure you donate where you can. The Red Cross, I know Danielle works for the Red Cross, guys. They're doing a lot. Actually, she's on the DR helping with that and been on the phones all day. And she'll be on the phones probably for the next 2 weeks working with that and taking care of a lot of the things that are happening. And I don't know what's going to happen for her, but I have a feeling we've talked about it. She'll probably end up getting shipped out in the next couple of weeks. I'm not sure whether to Florida, Tennessee, or Carolina, but right now she's working from home remotely to help. So anything you guys can donate, please make sure you do. I know here in Virginia, guys, it's God's Pit Crew, Gleanman for the World is the two organizations big around here that are be bringing tractor trailer loads. I know they've been at Sam's, they've been at Walmart collecting water. So that's all heading. I don't know which direction it's heading, guys. I can't tell you, but it's going to be heading to one of the communities. So, but guys, appreciate everyone listening tonight. Thank you all for listening. By the way, checking out the latest podcast. Please hit the follow button or subscribe. Please, it helps so much. You guys don't really understand how much it helps. Pay for stuff, to be honest. So, I mean, it's kind of how it works. Make sure you guys subscribe to Thomas's Patreon so you guys can help him, because after this done come through here, we're probably going to need a few more docks rebuilt and a few more ramps worked on and fish put in. So please make sure you guys subscribe to his Patreon. So, guys, again, thank you all for listening, and we will see you all right here next week on Basscast Radio.
Bye.